Daddy eats lots. Daddy eats lots. Daddy eats lots. Munch, munch, munch.
Hello and welcome to Daddy Eats Last, where we discuss the challenges of being a man in modern society and whatever the hell that even means. I'm Kane, and with Matty having an early celebration for his wife's birthday, it's just Ryan and myself. How you going, Ryan?
Yeah, good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. Kim, if you are listening to this podcast in Matt's absence, happy birthday. I don't know how old you're turning. Matty didn't give us that information, but you were having happy hour. So I hope tomorrow, when this is released, you're not too dusty and hungover.
Yes, happy birthday indeed, and very good of Maddie to not share that vital information.
You know, she's only 21, I
forever
think.
Be 21.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, you are our UK correspondent. There's a bit been going on in the UK in the last few days. Of course, Prince Philip, because he's not a king. There's some convoluted reason that he's not a king. Prince Philip has passed away.
He has, yes. Prince Philip passed away 2 days ago.
What's the vibe?
It's quite subdued. And I suppose it's a bit disappointing because I'd be really interested to know what the vibe would be if we weren't in the thick of COVID and the pandemic and that kind of thing. So over here, we get a little bit of relaxation on the restrictions come Monday. And we've kind of got a path over the next 3 months towards gradually sort of moving ourselves out of those restrictions with positive success of the vaccine. So that's been really good. But I mean, so there's people, I believe, leaving tributes and well wishes at Buckingham and Windsor Castle and so forth. But yeah, it's just very subdued. He's had a military salute, obviously. I believe he'll be having a military burial as opposed to a big state funeral. So I suppose the COVID thing kind of, I'm not sure, but it's yeah, I mean, it is sad news. He was 1 year off being 100, which would have been pretty cool.
He's only a couple of months off, wasn't he? He was turning 100 in June, where he would have got a letter from his wife congratulating him on turning 100.
He would have gotten a letter from his wife congratulating him on turning 100. So there's a lot of BBC news, and the news over here on that is all Prince Philip, obviously. And there's a lot of, recollections of his life and legacy and stuff that he's done. But I suppose one of the interesting things as well is there's now questions around the Queen. Because obviously, losing a partner and she's not a spring chicken herself, and how is that going to help? Because I believe they were married for 73 years or something.
A long time.
Together. So, yeah, and I mean, you can feel over here there is this real connection to the royals, whether that people agree with it or not is a different conversation. But I think people put that to the side to kind of just acknowledge that actually it is just a bit sombering when anyone passes, I guess.
Yeah, I can't believe it was such a big deal here in Australia. The news broke on it. I think it was must have been on Friday night. And the papers and news stories have been sort of lead story sort of stuff. It's been primarily covering, his death and the plans around that. So I guess I was surprised that it was such a big deal here. I obviously could completely understand it being a big deal in the UK, but the fact that it seemed to be such a big deal here, to me, I find unusual. Not being a big supporter of the Royals, and the Royals not seemingly doing that much to assist Australia. Really, they're just sort of figureheads. I found it weird that it was such a well covered media event here, but at the same time, there was no other sort of news like the vaccine stuff over here with Astra Zeneca. We'll talk about that in a sec with regards to the vaccine you've had over there. But it was kind of a slow, maybe news end of week, so that kind of picked up the slack for the media, I think, and it's really easy and lazy journalism. Some of the stuff they can do on the Royals as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask how it is back in Oz, because I wonder whether it has sparked a bit of we are part of that Commonwealth situation, or whether it throws up. I wonder whether following this it'll throw up kind of the Republican debate that kind of comes around every little while. I suspect what will be very interesting over here is the next couple of years and how the Queen goes. And I think that would be a far bigger story. But I think one of the good things that probably has come out of Philip's thing, or one of the, he was a controversial man at times, but one of the things that he did very well was actually a lot of stuff later on in his life around men's health and, really working on creating spaces for men to share things and to be positive. And I think that is, if we think of it in the context of the stuff that we talk about and the modern man and all those kind of things, I think somebody being so institutionalized in something as, let's say, old school as the Royals and such a stoic kind of era that he was born into and the generations of the world wars and so forth, having done so much work in the space of men's health and men's sheds and getting men to open up and to talk and those kind of things, especially as they get older in life, I think is probably one of the really good things that he's done. And it has brought, as part of everybody reflecting on what has he done and a bit of legacy and all that kind of thing, it's brought a bit of that to the forefront, which I think is certainly a positive thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime that a light can be shone onto those areas, I think is a really important sort of thing. While we're talking about Prince Philip, obviously I mentioned that it was kind of a slow news day because a lot of the vaccine stuff had kind of died down here because there's the Astra Zeneca thing in that, if you're now under 50, it's probably not advisable to get you're probably not going to be advised by your GP to get that particular vaccine due to, a clotting issue, which is less common with the vaccine than it is with Panadol or, the birth control pill or some birth control pills. What vaccine did you get over there, mate?
So I haven't been vaccinated yet.
Oh,
I'm still on the wait list.
TK has been? Yep.
Yes, and actually got the AstraZeneca. So over here, and it was a little while ago as well before this stuff came out, but over here, they are going through them. Like more than half the population's been done. More than, I think, 6 million people over here have had both doses of their vaccines, which is phenomenal. And it really is a situation of whatever vaccine you rock up at the vaccination center that day that they're giving out is the one that you get. Over here, it's changed a little bit with the AstraZeneca one. I do think it's been blown out of proportion a fair bit because, as you said, you've got more chance of getting a blood clot with Panadol or the pill than the actual vaccine. But with every spotlight on COVID or whatnot. So over here now, what they're doing is if you're under 30, you won't get the AstraZeneca. The under 50 thing, I haven't heard that one, but it's effectively, over here, if you're under 30 and especially female, has no impact on males, apparently. At this stage, they haven't found out or anything. But yeah, a lot of it is sort of media hype, which is a bit annoying because I prefer the story to be positive around how we've, done really well and so forth. But so the Medina or Madonna or whatever the one with M is coming into play now. So there's now 3, which is kind of luck of the draw of whichever one I get whenever I rock up there. But I suspect being my age, I won't get the AstraZeneca.
Yeah, I actually saw a video of the different. I think it might have been Saturday Night Live or something like that, doing a mock of the vaccine candidates like at a job interview, and I think your name's got murder in it, so Murderna. So, but I think it is Moderna. I'm not sure, but yeah, there was obviously late in the week, and I think it's almost jumping at shadows by the government here and then by GPs because no GPs if you're under 50. I think the threshold is 0. If you're under 50. No GP is probably going to say, "Oh yeah, it'll be fine" because of medical insurance and malpractice and things like that. So if something did go wrong after the GP said you'll be right, they'll be in the gun. So no GP is going to do it. So that pushes our whole vaccination program out for something which is safer than taking something which probably half the female population take every day in the form of the pill, or a lot of people take just paracetamol for a headache.
When they have a headache. Yeah. And I think because of the pace that this is happening, those things do get blown out of proportion. Like if this was a normal thing and everyone was running it through and that kind of thing, you'd go medically, that is well within risk tolerance. the fact that it's less than Panadol. But because of the spotlight and everything like that, and because of I think, general hysteria that COVID's created, we're looking at, with this phasing out plan over here, return to the offices and so forth. And people are genuinely going, I've got massive anxiety to return. And then on the other end of the flip side, people are like, I have massive anxiety if I don't return and start seeing people again because I'm going insane. So I think there's, and that is what the media functions as, to just drive whatever clicks, really. So I think the power of the media has actually been shown in how much they can influence and impact things, and not necessarily in the good thing, because if it slows down what is our path out of this nightmare of a pandemic, that's just disappointing for a little bit of clickbait news.
Yeah, I think that's been my main criticism pretty much from day dot of the pandemic, is the way the media have approached this, be it being in Victoria, attacking the Premier and the Chief Health Minister about things pretty much from the moment we went into lockdown, to, trying to portion blame for certain things. And then as soon as there's one particular aspect of something in the vaccine which didn't work, that gets blown up to a news issue, like it's a 24-hour news cycle. So I think the media's been really disappointing in the last sort of 12 months, the way they've sort of handled this pandemic. Instead of being able to, I guess, be supportive and get us through this, they've been divisive and made it a lot harder to get through it.
Yeah, and especially like driving the whole, how many stories do you hear about the anti-vaxxers and all those kind of situations, and it's valid, but it adds fuel to something that's blurred on so many levels. It's kind of like, well, if somebody chooses not to get a vaccine, why should we be in, restrictions for said decision? But then at the same time, they've got right of freedom of choice and all these sort of things. So I think the reality is it's still going to be a topical story and divisive, unfortunately, for at least 12 months to play out, which is not great for the mental health stuff that we are just talking about, the good work that Philip's done.
Correct. All this stuff was a lot easier when Philip was a kid. You just do whatever you wanted as a government.
Yeah, basically.
Now, mate, the other thing you've done this week, you've done a 3-day fast.
Correct. Yep, 72 hours.
Now, the first question is why? What was the rationale behind doing a 3-day fast? Because you do intermittent fasting pretty much every day, apart from maybe on the weekend. What made you go from like a intermittent fasting, which you talked about on a podcast previously, about 16 hours a day where you don't eat? What made you go from 16 to 72?
So I think, I've been doing intermittent fasting for probably 5 years now, at least sort of 5 days a week, I'd say. And I've always been curious about the longer fasts. You hear certain people talk about how they can be like detoxes, how they can be resets. There's many people that have done this, from obviously Tim Ferriss talks about a lot of it, but to Kelly Slater, to a lot of professional athletes, to a lot of, and I think in the pandemic, every month, because we've been in a lockdown here now, effectively, we've had 2 weeks out of 6 months where we haven't been. In the last 4.5 months has been a lockdown. Each month I've tried to do something to just be like, okay, I've actually done something and not just sat waiting for freedom. And it kind of, you run out of things to do with this many months going on.
Because you did no wine month, you did no chocolate month. You're doing 5 days, 5 meals a week of having no meat.
Yep.
And now you've done a fast. So you're right. There's probably not much left after this, but
thankfully we're getting some restrictions out, because I'm losing track of what to do next. But I thought, coming up to Easter, I like chocolate. Also, knowing that I had time off and I had some space, and I wasn't working and all that kind of thing, sort of freed me up to think about it. So just decided that I'll give it a crack, see what it's like. So the 72-hour fast, so I had nothing but water, black coffee, and 1 green juice. So you can effectively go up to 200 calories a day if you want to. I just did the green juices because we have them anyway, and it's like a probiotic to hopefully not catch COVID. But really, it was basically 3 days of not eating. And I'd recommend it, definitely. And I would consider doing it again for sure. I dropped 4.2 kilos in the 3 days, which was quite surprising. I've probably put half of that back on already, basically because if you research into it, a lot of it that you're dropping is like water weight and all that kind of stuff. But I was really clear for quite a bit. You do go through these ebbs and flows of the hunger pains, but they always pass. Like they would always pass. And that was really interesting. And I think it's just one of those things of just having done something different and experienced. And then it gave me a license to eat plenty of chocolate after that. So
was there any point in the 72 hours that TK said, "We just eat something. You're hangry," or you're all good? You're pretty calm.
Definitely advise everybody around you that you're going to do it and give plenty of warning. I got a pretty firm warning when I said, "Yeah, I'm thinking of doing a 72-hour fast," because I've been reading into it a lot and that kind of thing. I got a pretty firm warning of like, you can be a dick when you're hungry. So, and you're asking me to put up with that for 3 days. So I was kind of like prepped and basically was like, I'm not allowed to be. But there was, so the hardest parts were that first lunchtime, because I'm so used to eating then with the intermittent fasting. Getting past that was pretty hard. And then that dinner was fine. Got through that easily. Day 2, so about 48 hours in, that dinner, that was a bitch. And that's when I was like pretty grumpy, and she knew. The other thing is though, she had cooked up this beautifully smelling omelette. So I was furious as well, because I'm just like, what are you doing to me?
I'd have been doing the same thing. I would have ordered a pizza in or something which you really like, just to go.
So annoying.
You're going to stick to 72 hours.
Yeah, so I had to storm into another room for like an hour or two and just let the house air out, basically.
And was she in the other room just going, this is so good. Oh, yep. Yum.
100%.
It's like when Sally met Harry, when Harry met Sally, sort of scene in the cafe sort of thing, when she's eating an omelette. I have what she's having.
Yeah. So that was probably, and I kind of knew, like reading into it and studying it, that the second night is always the worst, and then you're just hungry on the third day, but you pretty much hit ketosis then.
Yep.
So whilst you're hungry, you're like a 5, 6 out of 10 the whole time, and you're fine. I was definitely happy to eat that night, but I probably could have gone again another day. I think just psychologically, because I was like 72, that's it. But like that day, we caught up with some friends, walked around Notting Hill, Kensington. Like I went for a run in that fast. We were out and about, walked like 12 hours. Besides just drinking a lot of water, and then you got to go to the bathroom a lot, I was actually pretty fine. So would recommend it, but you've got to put some planning and thought to it, and don't have like on day 3 an intensive work day where you're meeting a bunch of people, because you will be an asshole.
Well, yeah, for people who are listening who don't know what ketosis is essentially where you start to burn fat. So that's when you've been fasting for long enough that you're actually using ketones, and you essentially burning fat, as opposed to stuff which is in your stomach and which is kind of already in your blood. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah. Basically, you've used up all like your carbs, your proteins, your everything. And then you move into fat reserves, which is effectively your body's fuel source, or last fuel source.
So if you could if you can do that again, would you look to fast track? Because you can fast track ketosis with different external ketones, and walking and drinking water for like a prolonged period at the start of your fast. Would that be something you'd look at next time to kind of get in that ketosis sort of state earlier, so it's an easier ride?
Yeah, I probably would. Like, I definitely consider doing it again. be great to do a 48, not 72. So to be able to do like that and really fast track that kind of ketosis would be pretty cool. But you do get, like, it's a weird feeling. You get this, you're super switched on mentally. You don't really have the energy to act on it, but clarity of mind is really, really great. And you do feel like you almost get like a reset on your body. So I would encourage people to do it, but don't, like, with the asterisks of I have been intermittent fasting for 5 years and learning about this and researching about it, and did plenty of research before thinking about this, and obviously picked a time where I pretty much could have just sat at home if I wanted to. To be honest, it's advised not to, because you want to do things that keep you busy. So I went for a run and all that, but you are fine. But you will get some of those times where, like, yeah, you'll wake up and you'll be like 2 out of 10 hungry, but the night before you've been like a 9 and you're like, but it passes.
Yeah.
So interesting experience, just a nice one to have ticked off and not wasted my time in lockdown, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. I might put that on my list of things to try one day. I'm not sure. Fasting, I don't know. I don't eat that much, and I kind of eat at set meal times. So I'm not a big snacker in between. So I think I could kind of push it. I don't drink coffee anymore. That might help. Tea is probably not the same as having a coffee. But I'm at 154 days boozeless, so I've got that to hang my hat on at the moment.
Yeah, I think one thing is the whole pandemic thing has helped put some spotlight on maybe getting a bit healthier with habits and behaviors. I think is a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Day on day. But that wraps up for this week on Daddy Eats Last. Remember to subscribe to Daddy Eats Last on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast if you haven't done already. And while you're there, please leave a review. Also tell your mates about the podcast, especially if they are guys. Most of all, thanks for listening. We'll be back next week. We're not going to fast. We're going to keep on going episode upon episode. So we'll be back next week with another episode. I'm not going to say serving because Ron's been fasting for 3 days or had been. How's that for a dad joke? Catch you next week.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.